In this episode of the Range Minded Podcast, we're going to be talking about EDC, Everyday Carry. And maybe we'll throw some other stuff in there. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Range Minded Podcast, the EDC. What's in your pocket? Stay tuned. All right, like I said in the intro, we're going to talk about EDC and then some. By the way, welcome back to the Range Minded Podcast. It's me, Steve, your humble host, and I am so grateful to have you guys here, and I hope you enjoy this episode. It should be kind of fun. We're going to be talking about everyday carry, things you should be like, well, at least what I carry at EDC-wise, and maybe give you some ideas of things to carry as well. Now, I'm going to disclaimer this right up front. I am not an attorney. I do not know the laws where you live. It is up to you as the person who may be carrying every day to do your due diligence and know the laws in your area. I am not responsible for any kind of stupid mistakes that you make because of something you thought I said you should do. This is not advice for you. You need to figure out what is best for you. Now, that being said, shall we get into it? We shall. When it comes to EDC, there's a pretty broad line of thinking, because there's a lot of things to consider. Just like I said in that disclaimer, your laws where you live might dictate what you are allowed to carry. I can't stress this hard enough. You really need to know what you can and cannot do as a concealed carry holder. It may be where like, for example, in New York, you can't carry any kind of gravity knives, meaning something that uses the force of gravity to open the knife blade as an assisted open type thing. Maybe you're restricted on blade length of a knife. Maybe you're restricted on, well, look at California and their ridiculous gun roster. There's a lot of guns that they are unable to purchase unless you're a super special law enforcement or a political person that can get around the laws, whatever, that you're really limited on what you can carry. Maybe you live in a state that has magazine capacity restrictions. So there's a lot of things to understand and consider when it comes to EDC. Let's just jump to the number one thing that I carry. This is something I carry every day, and if you look close enough at this tool, you'll see, yeah, you do carry that every day, and you need to take care of that a little bit better. So that is this guy right here. This is my Glock 43. Now you can see I've done some little extra work to it. I've done some stippling. Yes, I did this myself. I did do a little bit of trigger guard work just because I like the way it feels in my hand. Honestly, I haven't done any work on the trigger. The trigger's factory, the sights are factory, the slides factory, the barrel's factory. The only thing I've done is to stipple that grip to give me a little bit better purchase. Now, we could probably talk about stippling, and maybe we should right here after I finish talking about this gun. Now, this particular firearm, there's a reason why I wanted this exact gun, not the model. This is a 43. This is really like the first generation of 43. I guess you could say the first few of them that came out. I shouldn't say that. That's probably thousands of them before this one came out. But in that first year that the Glock came out with 43, I knew I wanted one. And I was working at a local gun store here. And should I tell this story? Yeah, I think it's okay. It's probably been long enough. A particular agency ordered this exact firearm for a retirement gift. You know, sometimes when a particular agency, when somebody retires from that agency, they purchase a gun to give to that particular employee. Now, this gun in particular, I'm not going to get into the exact reasons why I picked this gun, but there was a lot of issues that were taking place at this particular time frame in the community. And this agency ordered this particular firearm, this exact gun, for this individual that was retiring. Now, during this time frame, that individual that was retiring was causing a lot of stink, shall we say, within the agency. Well, he wasn't, but he was part of a stinky party that was happening within the agency. and it was ridiculous. It was a gigantic soap opera that was taking place in this agency. Well, they never came to pick up this gun. They must have gone a different route. Maybe they ordered another firearm from another dealer. I don't know. They never picked up this gun. As soon as that individual retired, I swooped up this exact gun for that very reason, because I know this person individually, and I kind of despise what him and his friends were doing within the agency. So it was kind of like a stick in a high five. It's like a high five to the agency. So this gun has more than just a special place in my heart, because I knew what was going on at the agency at the time, and I just had to have this particular gun. Let's just say I just had to have it. So let's start with that. So that I have two different. I think I've actually shown you the other 43 that I carry. But here's the first option, this old school 43. Yes, I understand when it comes to magazine capacity, there's a lot of people that don't like the 43, and I totally get it. So you're stuck with 6 rounds in the 43. So if you jump to the 43X, you get a little bit bigger capacity, whatever. Or was it the 48? But again, now you kind of know the story behind this particular gun. So to aid with that, I always carry, no matter what gun I'm carrying, even if it's a full size, if I'm carrying, at a class or whatever, I carry outside the waistband on a duty belt, I'm always carrying at least one extra magazine. So to counteract the limited amount of capacity on my 43, I bought some Terran Tactical base plates. So this is a +2. So now that 6-round mag carries 8 rounds. Don't worry, I'm not going to insert this magazine, but we will talk about what's inside here in just a second. So now we're in fact, I'm going to move this gun way out of reach, so there's no tendency to have some kind of a training scar that I'm not going to edit that out, by the way. So now I have 8-round capacity in my secondary mag. My primary magazine, I'm still keeping the 6-round magazine, 6 rounds, because of the footprint that it leaves. It prints a little bit less, and it's just a little bit easier to carry. So I always carry a secondary mag no matter what gun I'm carrying. Now, what do we keep inside? I had a loosey-goosey. Here it is. What do we keep inside these Freedom dispensers? Well, I like all sorts of different kind of ammunition when it comes to self-defense loads. Caveat. We've talked about this before, but this is a good time to mention this again. Do not use ball ammo in your everyday carry. Don't do it. I understand that that defense loads are expensive. They're about $1 a round, sometimes more, sometimes a little bit less. Yeah, I get it. It gets expensive. I totally understand that. But defense loads are designed, the projectile is designed to dissipate as much, if not all of its energy within a certain size of, how do I put this politely? A certain depth of fleshy, liquidy, mushy target. Okay? If we're shooting ball ammo or target loads, just round full metal jackets, it's not gonna dissipate any of that energy. It's gonna go through and through, potentially injuring another person or, something else. We are responsible for every round that leaves our firearm. So the potential of having secondary damage is exponential with is it exponential? Would that be a fair way? Don't do it. Just don't carry ball ammo in your defense, your everyday carry defensive gun. Okay, just don't do it. Okay, let's be done with talking about that. But what do I carry? These ones are critical duty, I believe, is what they look like. The Hornadays. I had to look at, I did have to look at the base plate because I had a brain fart. All right, the Hornaday critical duty. Now they have critical duty, critical defense. They're very similar. It's either these that I carry, or I carry CCI gold dots, which I actually prefer as the gold dot. I have some with Ranger T's in it, which is another fantastic round. But notice what I've said is none of those are home or hand-loaded rounds. These are all rounds that are purchased from a manufacturer that has a track record. Now, another reason why I picked those loads is that law enforcement uses those loads. So there is an immense amount of data that's already available in established cases where those rounds have been used in some sort of a defensive situation. So it kind of takes away, I wouldn't say some of the liability, but it kind of takes away some of the stigma of rounds, because there's a track record of those rounds. Please always buy and use in your everyday carry, in your defensive loads, an established brand that has a good track record. Don't buy hand loads, reloads. Don't do your own. I know it saves you money, but if there's a liability there that you need to understand, okay, it's not worth the liability. I know we've talked about this before. I stay away from the RIP. I can't remember who makes that, the RIP loads with those little fingers that they're like flechettes almost. I guess that's not the right word, but they're like a solid brass or solid copper projectile. And when it hits, those fingers break off and they create separate rune channels. I don't like those kind of loads. I don't trust those kind of loads. There's a lot of boutique loads that are shaped like other things. If you catch what maybe you've seen some of these rounds. I think they actually do exist. Don't do that. Don't. Carry quality factory ammunition. Now, that being said, you also have to run several of those rounds through your everyday carry handgun to make sure those rounds will work and cycle through that gun. You want to test those at a range before you have to test them in real life, and it's just wise. Okay, you can see what would happen if maybe those rounds didn't really function too well, and you didn't try that out until you're in the middle of a situation and it's a bad day. So there's number one. A good quality handgun. Are there other good quality handguns out there that are good for everyday carry? Yes, absolutely. There are a ton of good guns out there. My advice would be buy the best that you can afford. I understand that things are expensive. Please, I wouldn't say please stay away. Try, if you can afford it, try to steer towards some of the bigger name brands. Glock, SIG, Smith & Wesson, Springfield, something like that. Once you get to some of these other brands that I'm not going to mention, sometimes quality becomes less of an issue. Are some of those guns great? Yeah, some of those guns function fantastic. Can you get a lemon in a factory or a big name brand gun? Yeah, absolutely. But when you take it to the range, when you train with it, when you start to have a good relationship with your everyday carry gun, you'll know. You'll know whether it's quality or not. But like I said, even those name brand guns can have a lemon. You have to train with it. Please don't just put it in a holster and say, yeah, I'm good. There's a lot more to it. Okay. Now, with a good quality handgun, you got to worry about a good quality way to carry that gun. So this is old school Hoftech Industries. This is one of Nick Hoffer's holsters from back in the day. You know Nick. Nick's a friend of the show. He's on here frequently. I was a customer of Nick's before he was ever on the show. And this goes to show I have a few of Nick's holsters. This has been around a while. And I do trust this holster. Are there other good quality holsters out there? Yes. Yes, there are. When it comes to quality holsters, you can see that it's clear. I have no magazines anywhere. When it comes to a good quality holster, you want something that, listen to this, clicks into place. You want retention, right? Look at this. Okay? You want something where that firearm is not going to fall out when you need to move, if you're wrestling around on the ground or you need to run. The last thing you want is that gun just to fall out. That'd be bad. That would suck. So something with good quality retention. This is Kydex. I know a lot of you know what Kydex is. It's a thermoformed plastic that, in this case, Nick has some molds that he heats that plastic up, wraps around, vacuum forms it to that plastic, or to that mold, excuse me, and it has a good product. Another important thing to see is we got some retention adjustment screws. You want to be able to adjust that. Maybe it needs to be a little tighter. Maybe it needs to be a little looser so you can safely draw that firearm from that holster without taking the holster with it. Okay. The other thing is, along those lines, is you want a good clip. Again, this is an old school holster. This has been around, boy, I don't know how many years I've carried this holster. It's been a long time. Nick, I don't think he uses these plastic clips anymore. You want something that's going to wrap around your belt, that we're going to talk about in a second, because that's another key thing for everyday carry. You want something that's going to retain around that belt structure, so again, you're not pulling that holster out with the gun. I prefer it to carry the official carry manner to the Range Minded podcast is it's appendix carry. I get it. There's some folks out there that are a little bit more old school, or they're just really paranoid. They do not like the idea of appendix carry. There's a lot of reasons why I pick appendix carry. I feel like I'm faster, that I don't print as much, and it's just more comfortable. Like if I'm sitting down or whatever, I'm not worried about flashing a gun if I'm leaning over and my shirt pops up or whatever. I feel like, especially the other reason is it's in front of me. I feel like retention is going to be a little bit easier for me in appendix carry. I was going to say something, but I'm not going to say what I was thinking. Don't worry, it's not gross or dirty. It's something that Adam Boyce and I have been talking about when it comes to appendix carry. That's not privy to this conversation, so we'll just leave that out of there. Never mind. Just pretend I didn't say that, okay? Maybe I'll bring it up at a later time. All right, so we talked about getting a good quality handgun. Always, my recommendation, you should always carry a secondary mag, maybe 3 mags. It's okay to have ammo left over if you're in some sort of a gunfight. It's totally cool. You need a good quality holster. I would avoid the nylon, I call it a gun bucket, that you can buy at a chain store that fits like 8,000 different models. I would avoid that. Now, I've talked about Nick's latest holster. I think it's the Omni Carry that actually carries or can hold 300 different frame styles. That holster is a little bit different because it actually has positive retention. Whereas if you go to one of those nylon ugly things that you buy at a big store that starts with a W, those just suck. Let's just be frank, right? They're designed to just kind of sort of hold a gun. Another thing that's important with a holster is, while I'm thinking about it, is you need something that covers up the trigger, okay? The trigger. The trigger guard, all that has to be covered up with a holster. So one thing I've noticed with, and I'm pretty sure I have one of those stupid nylon holsters somewhere, because it was new to me. This was way back. That was probably the first holster I ever bought. You need to be really cautious about making sure that trigger and trigger guard are encapsulated by that holster. There's a lot of reasons for that, especially when it comes to just carrying or holstering. You don't want anything to interfere with that trigger until you've made the decision to fire. Remember, should we talk about the 4 basic firearm safety rules while we're talking about it right now? Sure, why not? First and foremost, we're going to treat every gun like it's loaded all the time, no exceptions. Because we're going to treat that gun like it's loaded, we are never going to point that gun at something we are not willing to destroy. Now, I know we just talked about appendix carry, so some of you dudes are already like, I'm breaking a fundamental rule here. 3, we're going to keep our finger off the trigger outside the trigger guard and along the frame of the firearm until we have made the conscious decision to fire. Okay? And then 4, we want to know what our target is, what's in front of it, and what's beyond it. So those are the general 4 firearm safety rules. Commit those to memory. Okay? Now, again, I just re-referenced it just barely. We talked about appendix carry. I'm carrying a gun that is pointing in something that I'm not willing to destroy. Take that as you will. I do trust my tools, my life-saving tools, and I know that my finger is not on the trigger while I'm carrying appendix. So be that as it may. So that right here's probably another good point or perspective to say, do you carry with one in the firearm? My opinion, not you can do whatever you want, but in my humble opinion, if you are not carrying with one in the chamber, maybe you shouldn't carry a gun at all, because you haven't made the commitment that it takes. Now, I know that sounds really harsh. Maybe I'm wrong. But in my opinion, I want that gun to be ready when I need to use it. When I'm carrying that gun, I want to be ready to use it if I need to. I want all the time I can in my favor to use a life-saving tool. That might be a half a second. But that half second might be the determining factor of me living or dying. I prefer to carry with one in the chamber because it's okay to be a little bit faster and have a little bit more time. Now, it's up to you. If you don't feel comfortable carrying with one in the chamber, that's totally cool. Just make sure you train your draw stroke to load that gun. There are several videos floating around on the internet of people that have that mindset of not carrying with one in the tube. There's one of a jewelry store where it looked like it was in the Middle East or India or something. I'm not quite sure where. It wasn't in the United States. These dudes break in. Maybe it was in the United States. Maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, these dudes break into the jewelry store, and the jewelry store owner or the employee, whoever's working there, looks like a 1911, and you can see he gets the gun out and he's pressing the trigger, and he's like mashing this gun down. It's not firing. He didn't either have the safety off or it wasn't loaded. Okay? If you choose to carry without one in the chamber, understand that you need to work that into your training schedule so you understand how to load and get on target as quickly as possible. I think it's an inferior way to carry, but what do I know? All right, so we've talked about the gun, the holster, the magazines. Let's talk about belts, because honestly, belts are just as important, if not more important than what you're carrying, because they need to have some structure. Let me show you. This is what is this belt? I can't remember what belt this is. Oh, this is a Next belt. Not sponsored. I paid for this belt on my own. The reason why I like this particular belt is it's rigid. It's got a hard plastic. I wouldn't say terribly hard. It flexes this way, but it doesn't flex the other way. There's like a plastic liner inside this belt, which keeps its structure. Now, there are a lot of belts out there on the market that you don't have to buy a belt like that Next belt. You can buy a good quality leather belt. I think Hank's belts? I don't know. There's a lot of belts out there. When it comes to carry or choosing an everyday carry belt, you want something that's rigid. It's going to keep its form. If you go to the big box stores that sell everything, groceries and everything, and you go buy one of those fancy looking leather belts, chances are it's going to be inferior for the purpose that you need it to be. Once you make that change, maybe you are using one of those cheap belts that you bought at that same big store, and you're using that as your everyday carry belt. Once you've spent the money on a good quality carry belt, you're gonna see that it just feels different to carry. It's going to be easier to carry. It's not going to fatigue you as much when you carry with a good quality belt. Now, that being said, this is something I've started to use more and more. This is an inner belt, one of those Velcro inner belts. A lot of like USPSA guys, that kind of thing, they'll have their little shooter's rig, and sometimes they'll just use this inner belt and thread that through their pants, and then they can run their rig over top because it just Velcros to it. I actually love these Velcro inner belts. They're rigid, they're fast. There's no buckle to get in the way. That's one of the concerns when it comes to an EDC belt, is that buckle, especially if you buckle it in the front center, is going to protrude, because if your appendix carry anyways, it's going to push out, and it's really going to kind of say, hey, I'm carrying a gun. Now, you can move that buckle to one side or the other, like maybe 3 or 9 o'clock on your person, and that kind of gets that bulk out of the way. Or you can just go buy yourself one of those Velcro inner belts. There's no buckle. The Velcro is strong. It's going to keep your pants up. And if you have a shooter's rig or something that's set up that way, it's nice because you can just pop your rig right over top of that inner belt, and it's going to be snug as a bug in a rug. So I've been really actually carrying a lot, wearing those inner belts a lot, almost everywhere I go, for that reason. It's just so low profile. It doesn't bulge out where I keep my gun, and it might be something to consider. Let's talk about knives real quick. Now, this is my everyday carry knife. Now, this is ridiculously sharp. I've cut myself more than once. It's a Spyderco Yojimbo. Now, there's a lot of reasons why I prefer this knife over the vast amount of other knives that I have. First of all, the quality. Now, Spyderco has been around for a very long time. It's just, they're an established brand. Their steel quality is fantastic. They have a lot of different blade profiles and things that they make. Michael Janich was part of this design, by the way. So MBC, Martial Blade Concepts, which I prefer as far as my defensive knife tactics. I prefer Martial Blade Concepts. Janich was part of the design of this particular blade. And we don't have enough time to really go into the geometry of this blade and why I prefer this. We'll probably do a more dedicated show about this. We'll bring on Adam Boyce from Spartan Mode, and we'll talk about that. He's more eloquent when it comes to that. I love this knife. Now, this is I think that's a 5x5 little wave thing that I had put on there. What that is when I'm carrying this, it sits in my pocket this way. And as I pull this out of my pocket, that's going to snag the edge of my pocket, and it's going to help open my knife. So it's just a quicker way to get the blade open. Do you need one of those? No. Emerson knives. The Emerson, it's called the Wave. Kind of a cool concept. That's really not what it was intended for. To snag on the pocket. Actually, the original reason was Navy SEALs wanted something that they could use to catch blades if in a knife fight, which whatever. But the unintended consequence was it would snag, like I say, snag the edge of that pocket on its way out and assist that blade open, making it much quicker. It's a cool option. These aren't cheap. It's not like a Benchmade where you could spend a couple $100. I think these are $150, maybe they are $180. Good quality knife. You get what you pay for. So make sure you spend good quality. Make sure you buy something you can trust. Again, it's a life-saving tool, and you want to be able to trust it. Now, when it comes to your EDC knife, this is not made for opening boxes. Like, I do not cut anything with this knife. I have accidentally cut myself with this knife, and it sucks because, like I said, it's pretty damn sharp. But never use your EDC knife to cut open boxes. Now, let's just say maybe you can't carry a Yojimbo. The other option, this is something I did buy at that big box store. This is just a little, I think it's a Gerber. Yeah, a little Gerber utility knife. Now, I love this little knife because it just uses a standard utility knife blade. It has my preferred blade shape. It's small. It can just slip right into my pocket. Uh, you can do a lot of damage with just a regular old utility knife blade. And when it's dull, you just throw it out and put a new blade in there. This knife is awesome. This is something I would use to, open cardboard boxes. But if you needed to use this as a defensive tool, yeah, it's a viable option. I know it's a short blade, but with the right training, you'd be surprised what something like this could do. So that's a great little option. I don't carry this one as much. Sometimes if I'm going to church or whatever, I'll just drop this in my pocket just because it's not bulky. But you can go to the depot and just get a folding utility knife. I have a bunch of those. It's a great option for an everyday carry. It looks a little bit less intimidating than the Yojimbo. Some people might freak out when they see that knife shape of the Yojimbo and think, oh, this guy's up to no good. But a utility knife, that maybe you just forgot to take it out of your pocket after work. And like I say, it's a useful tool. Something else that maybe you're going into a non-pervasive environment. I just 3D printed this today. This is kind of cool. I need to clean it up a little bit. You can kind of see there's still some, maybe you can't see. There's still some stuff on there. Now, non-permissive environment. I'm not saying you should go into places that don't allow you to carry life-saving tools, but there's options out there. This is PETG. I just 3D printed this. Now I could use carbon fiber filament or something like that, and get a little bit more strength out. I'm going to do some testing with this. The PETG is a little bit stronger than PLA. Sorry, we're talking 3D printer talk, but I'm curious to see how this actually holds up. It's not sharp. I don't think this will hold an edge, but for punctures or something like that, if I need to make somebody uncomfortable, it might be a valuable option, especially in places that. Never mind. I'm not condoning any kind of behavior, illegal behavior, by the way. Just saying, there's options. All right, maybe it's something a little less scary. Let's see. We'll wait on that one. So I love watches. Now I can't afford big fancy watches. I have some nice watches. I have this Sunto, which I really do like a lot. The only thing I hate about this watch is the battery life blows. Like, it eats through batteries. But it's a cool watch. It's an altimeter. I can do all of the sorts of other stuff with this thing. It's not just a timepiece, so it does come in handy. It has a compass that I can use, but it's a digital watch. You're going to lose some of the usability if you don't take care and maintain those batteries. But I do love that watch. Another watch that I'd love a lot. Again, I'm not a watch snob. I can't afford big fancy watches, but and I don't get watches for free, by the way. These are all ones I've purchased myself. Just a good old fashioned, this Illuminox, but just a regular non-digital old school watch with hands. There's ways you can use a regular watch as a compass or to help you guide you on your way. And it's less susceptible to other things. I love watches. I have a lot of crappy watches. If you guys want to send me a nice watch, I won't complain. That being said, why is it important to carry a timepiece? Well, there's lots of reasons. If you're using a tourniquet or something, you need to write some stuff down on the tourniquet. You're supposed to write the time when it was applied, so when it goes to the doctor, they know what was up, how long it's been on there. But any kind of note keeping, maybe you're trying to pay attention to something specifically or an individual specifically. Maybe you're being pursued for some reason, and you're just kind of making notes about when and where you're seeing this individual or whatever. Just saying, you never know. It's nice to have a watch on. I always have a watch on, except for tonight for some reason. I took mine off. What a hypocrite, right? Oh, hey, while we're sorry, we got to backtrack for just a second. When it comes to carrying a secondary mag, where did I put those? you need a quality mag pouch, okay? I know this is kind of, oh, you should have talked about when you had the holster out. You're right, I should have, but I didn't think about it. Get a good quality mag pouch. This also is a Hoftac, by the way. This is another old school Hoftac product. I don't even know if he even offers these anymore. This one I accidentally left in my car, and it kind of got a little soft and misshaped, but it still holds the mag. Look, okay, same thing. You want something with retention that's going to keep that magazine in place, so you don't lose it if you have to run or kind of roll around or whatever. Let's see. Here's enough fun little option here for EDC. This is just some Kevlar cordage. Kevlar's nice. Like, I'm not going to be knitting a vest with the Kevlar cordage, but Kevlar string is very strong. And when implemented right, can cut through certain plastics. And the nice thing about a Kevlar cord is you can just turn this into a bracelet or a shoelace or something. And then when needed, you can use it for cutting through things. Those guys that know what I'm talking about, if you know, you know. They come in handy. Kevlar cord comes in very handy when needed. The other things you could carry in your EDC, some dudes carry like handcuff keys, plastic handcuff keys, shims. We're not talking like cedar shims, but shims to get through locks and picks and that kind of thing. In my opinion, if you choose to carry all that stuff, cool. Hopefully you're carrying in a way that's very inconspicuous or innocuous looking. A lot of people tend to think that you're up to no good if you're carrying all kind of stuff like that. They'll think that you're a thief or something like that. So just be mindful when it comes to carrying all that stuff. That if people see it, they might be kind of like, who is this guy? Why is he carrying all this stuff? It might bring undue attention. That's all I'm saying. What was I was just thinking of something else that might be worth carrying. I guess it doesn't matter because I forgot. Anyway, so that's just a quick list of stuff that I carry every day. I'm sure there's other things that that's what I was going to talk about. Medical equipment. So I don't have anything really for EDC. That's kind of not true and true in a way. I think I talked about it before. I bought a fanny pack from a well-known company. It's not a tactical-looking fanny pack by any means. It's something that you would wear to like the gym or something. You know, it's very more dad-looking than tactical-looking. It is not designed as a tactical fanny pack by any means, but I turned that into an IFAC. So I got a couple tourniquets and some other stuff that I put in there to go for an individual first aid kit. Should you be carrying medical equipment in your EDC? Yes, if you can. That's my opinion. If you can find a way that's comfortable, that's easier to conceal, or a way you can carry it without bringing attention to yourself. Oddly enough, some people are really funny about, other people carrying tourniquets and that kind of thing. Some people have the mindset of like, well, what is this guy planning that he needs to have all this medical equipment? Instead of like, oh, this dude's really prepared and I'm glad he's got stuff just in case. When it comes to any of this stuff, whether it be medical equipment, tourniquets, that kind of thing, I think I did a short. Actually, I know I did a short on individual first aid kits. You can pull that up on YouTube and watch it. Any of this stuff that we just talked about, in my opinion, are life-saving tools. Things that you can use to save a life. Now, can a gun take a life? Can a knife take a life? Can a chunk of Kevlar cord take a life? Sure, it probably could. It all depends on the application. But stewards of the Second Amendment, people that are trying to be prepared and to be safe, aren't going to use any of these tools as a nefarious life-taking device. They carry them in hopes that they never have to use them. That's the reality of people that everyday carry. We carry this stuff just in case. It's just like having a fire extinguisher in your kitchen or you wearing your seatbelt on the way to work. just in case. Okay. All those things we hope we never have to use. So when you go with it to the mindset that I am doing this to protect me, my family, and those around me, and I don't want to have to use it unless I have to. That's the mindset I think you should really keep in the forefront. Now, the most important tool that you have in your EDC kit is your training. You can have all the cool stuff in the world. You can spend thousands and thousands of dollars to get all the high-speed, cool guy stuff. But if you don't know how to use it, it is completely worthless. You need good quality training. You need to understand how to use your tourniquet, how to use your medical equipment that you've purchased. You need to understand when and how to implement those tools. You need to understand how to make the good, conscious decision-making skills to know when do I use my gun, do I not use my gun? Do I dare pull this knife out or do I run away? These are training skills you need, okay? Any doofus can take a gun class and learn how to run a gun. Turn on YouTube, they're everywhere, okay? Any retard can do it. But it's the decision-making skills. It's the brain matter that matters. So you need to take good quality training from reputable instructors that are going to give you the information to help you make good, rational decisions. That is the most important EDC tool you can have. So please find those people, seek them out. All right, let's be done with the EDC stuff for a minute. There's a couple other things I want to talk about, and then we'll end the show. So I'm going to address this really fast because it's kind of a non sequitur. So you guys, maybe you've heard, you haven't heard, Grantham's going through all sorts of BS. Like, there's all sorts of stuff going about Grantham. It's the only time I'm going to bring this up, and it's the last time I'm going to bring it up. Who freaking cares? Let the guy do whatever he wants to do. Why does his personal life matter? We have so many other things to worry about and to consider in life than what some stupid gun tuber does or doesn't do in his personal life. Who cares? That's it. There's my opinion on Grantham. Done. Okay, let's move on. So you can tell I'm still struggling a little bit with coughing. No fainting, so that's good. At least not for a while. But I've decided to take my personal health a little bit more serious lately. So the last couple of weeks I've been working out. I've been trying to be more healthy. Part of being a protector and a provider is taking responsibility for your own personal health. So I decided it's time. I'm not getting any younger. I'm definitely not an old man yet. So why not do what I can to take care of the body that I have? So I've been hitting the gym more, which really is just my basement on the other side of the wall here. I've been counting calories and protein. I've been working on watching food. Okay, this is going to be a quick disclaimer. How do you guys if you're tracking food, if you're paying attention to what you're eating, what do you guys found beneficial when it comes to meal planning and making sure you're getting your caloric and your protein intake and not going overboard? I've really struggled with that. So part of the stuff that I'm doing is I've been really more conscious with what I eat and making sure I eat the right things. Slowing down on the sugars, slowing down on the fats, making sure I get my calories and my proteins where they need to be. Man, that's a lot of work. Plus, I have to eat a lot of protein. I got to eat tons. It feels like I can't eat as much as I need to get my protein intake where it needs to be. So what are some of the things your guys are doing? If you don't mind, if you're doing, comment below, comment in the video, send me a message, whether it be whatever. You can send it on any of my social medias, comment on the YouTube or Rumble, whatever. I'm curious because I want to take any advice that I can. So I'm not going to talk too much more about fitness in this episode because there's some stuff I want to talk about shortly that I'm excited about. That when that stuff gets here, we'll talk about it more. I am excited about it. So let's see, what else was I going to talk about? Yeah, just a few minutes we got left here. What do you guys think about the Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight? I didn't watch it. It wouldn't have mattered anyways, because if I tried to watch it, all I would have seen is buffering, apparently. What do you guys think? To me, from what I'm seeing, I didn't watch it. Like I said, I didn't watch the fight, but it just doesn't feel right. It almost feels like, it almost doesn't. You know what I'm saying? I don't think it was a real fight. Now, I wouldn't want to get punched by either of those dudes, because they both know how to fight. And yeah, real hits were had. People were getting hit in the face, but something wasn't right. Sounds like Paul took like $40 million was his purse, and Mike Tyson had $20 million. That's for losing. That's a pretty good deal. If you watched any of the training videos of Mike Tyson, like, the dude's still a stallion. He was fast. He was hitting hard, moving well. But from what I've seen, clips of the actual match, it just doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't make sense. And why was he biting his glove? Was that a signal? Like, I don't know. I didn't watch the fight, so I guess I can't really talk about that. Did you guys see the UFC fight? When Trump was there and the dude roundhouse kick, but back kicked the guy in the stomach? Good Lord. You could hear that from Idaho, from Las Vegas, man. That was such a hard kick. I didn't watch that fight either. Just wonder if you guys did. Anyways, I guess that's where we're going to stop. Yeah, that's it. There's my EDC episode with a little bit extra. I want you guys to know, before we close, I want you guys to know how grateful I am for you. I do this for fun. I don't get paid to do this. I feel like I have information to share, and I feel like you guys are friends and family. Boy, if I could talk, that would help. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys hanging out. If you liked what we talked about in the show, if you like the content, just subscribe, share it with your homies. Like, I want to have more people involved and share this message out with more people. I would appreciate it if that's what you would do. If you want to support the show in other ways, we have our patches that are available on rangemindedpodcast.com. We've talked about those before, but maybe I'll throw some pictures in so you can see what they are. They're available on the website. Also on the website, you can see some of the other people that I've kind of teamed up with on the show. There's other ways some friends of the show. Some of those I don't get paid for. They're just friends of the show, and it's just links to their websites. They're just good stewards of the Second Amendment that I want their products out as well. So just jump on there, check them out. If you want to buy something, cool. If not, whatever. I don't care. No sweat off my balls. I don't care. What, should I have said that? That might not have been very polite. Anyways, I'm going to let you guys go. Remember, when it comes to EDC, your training is the most important. It's way more important than the gear, so get good quality training and buy good quality tools, because you never know when you're going to need them. Anyway, appreciate you guys. Thanks for hanging out. Until next time, we will see you later. Stay safe. Don't forget, you also have to take somebody shooting. Peace out. All right, welcome back to this episode of Range Minded Podcast. In this episode, we're going to be talking about some crazy, crazy stuff. What in the world is happening? You can't help yourself. It's just so much winning to do. The future's so bright. Sometimes you just got to do the Trump dance no matter what comes on. All right, let's get back to the regular show. But we're winning, right? Hope so.
Stop it. Get some help.